My name is Gwen, and my husband and I spent a year in Korea. It all began with a call about 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, this phone call was a fellow from Korea. This young man was doing his doctorate, and Kwat was mentoring him. And he was so grateful for the help he got that he said, "If I ever can, I will get you to Korea." So we finally arrived there the 14th of December in 2001. We got there and we were welcomed by the CEO of the company. We flew into a city not too far from Mogpo, which was our destination, and we had an hour's drive. And a big surprise was the highways in Korea. We didn't really know what we were getting into, but I envisioned 2-lane highways, but we had 4-lane, 6-lane, and more highways. I brought some of the things to show you that remind me of what we saw in Korea. First of all, we had to have a meal, and each place at the restaurant was given a spoon with a very long handle and a pair of stainless steel chopsticks, which sound like regular chopsticks. Flat chopsticks are something else again. This, you might well ask, why does this remind you of Korea? And it's because on the tables in the company cafeteria and in many of the eating places, you would be presented with a roll of toilet paper, and this was to serve in place of table napkins. Each morning, we were served tea when we got to the company. Now, I was teaching English, and my husband was working with the people in the laboratory. So he was away, and I was receiving my cup of tea, and it would come like this. And when I figured it had steeped long enough, I would remove the lid, remove the strainer, which contained the green tea leaves, and then sip my tea. You might wonder why stones remind me of Korea. And these very smooth, rounded stones, they were put into concrete very close together, and people would take off their shoes and walk on these paths. In fact, the direction of walking was indicated by arrows, which were shown by the different colors of stones. Koreans were very into the body and sensory feelings. I found the story of lacquerware very interesting. The lacquer itself comes from a tree which is in the family of poison ivy and cashew nuts, highly toxic. And so you have to be very careful. You can't touch it. It has to be collected, of course, from the tree, the sap, and then it is treated, and the lacquerware is built up with coats. This is a jewel box, which is rather cleverly designed. It comes apart like this, and you access the contents by pushing on these little drawers which come out. This card shows some of the things that Koreans, some of the designs or the items that Koreans believe are symbols of good luck and long life. Korea is largely a mountainous country. There's only 35% of the land is arable, and they figure greatly in their culture and in what they hold dear. Graves are built on the sides of a mountain. They are rounded humps, almost like moguls that are used in skiing, but that's the family gravesite. And when Thanksgiving time comes, and at one other time of the year, they take a meal in specially prepared containers. Generally they're heritage items that they take up, and the food is given to the ancestors because they believe that the ancestors are present with them. And they take this meal up and share it with the ancestors. When the ancestors don't eat it, of course, it becomes a picnic on the mountain. And it's the eldest son's wife who is responsible for doing all the preparation. And most Korean families traditionally have not wanted their daughters to marry the eldest son because it was such an onerous thing to have to prepare all of this for the ancestors. Koreans are very interested in design. It's important to them, and they have traditional designs. Now this is a traditional Korean door. There are many different designs, and in some of the other pictures I have, you'll see designs. These are examples of celadon from centuries past, and it is still produced. It was traditionally made in kilns which were on a hillside. This is another example of celadon pottery. It has well, it's known as celadon green or celadon blue. It's sort of a turquoisey blue, and the designs are incised into the clay, and then different layers of glaze are applied to give the colors. When Kwat was in Korea for a pre-visit, he asked if he could buy one of the hotel towels, and the fellow said, "Oh, just take it, and you can keep it." So it was, I guess, his first souvenir. I hope that you noticed the painting which is on the wall over my shoulder. Scroll paintings were initially done in China, but like so many things in Korea, they migrated into China. This is a picture of an outdoor eating area. It was like a fair that we attended, where you bought food from the various stalls. When we had our meals in Korea, outside our apartment, we always sat at a very low table. The long spoon that the person in the foreground is using to reach into the common stew pot to reach a portion of stew. Now you would dip in, get your mouthful, swallow it, and then if you wanted more, you would dip in or you would have something else. But it was all shared. It was not, you didn't have a pot of stew for yourself. A meal was generally served to you as a bowl of rice, a bowl of soup, a number of smaller dishes called panchin, which were kind of go-withs for the meal. One might be a small bowl of seaweed. That wasn't so much of a surprise because we knew before we went that they ate seaweed, but how tasty it was a surprise. Kimchi is a national favorite in Korea. It's a traditional dish which is made from cabbage, much in a similar fashion to sauerkraut, except that it's Chinese cabbage that is used, and they mix a paste of hot pepper, a fish paste like anchovy paste, but that is placed between the leaves, rubbed between the leaves, and then the quarters of the cabbage are put into huge crocks. They would be probably the best part of a meter across, and kind of urn-shaped. And these would traditionally have been buried in the ground, which would keep them from freezing, but would keep the contents cold. One of the things that can be found on some pension menus is wild fern fronds. Now, in North America, we have fiddleheads, and these would be not unlike the fern fronds that are found on Korean tables, but the fern fronds there are longer and much more slender than the fiddleheads with which we're acquainted here in North America. This is rice being dried on the road after it has been harvested, and it is being raked by the woman who is turning it over so that it will dry properly and therefore be better for storage. Even back in 2002, the glass houses or greenhouses were very well developed in Korea because so much of the land is not arable, so they had to grow quite a bit in plastic houses. They were not glass or green at that time. I think I mentioned earlier just how important rock was to Koreans, and rocks of all sizes, the ones that they walked on in the paths, and any that you might find walking up a mountain path or walking up a mountain. And the mountains were meant to be climbed there. There was a mountain in Mogpo City itself, and it was full of people on weekends. And the way you got to it was by passing this statue. This is a traditional Korean warrior. I don't know what period he was from, but anyway, he looks fierce enough to me. And he was standing at the entrance to Yudal-san. San is mountain in Korean. So it was almost as if he were guarding Yudal-san. The armor makes me think of the turtle boats centuries ago with a rounded oval top. And in some cases, they would put spikes onto this roof, as it were, and then cover it with straw. And any invaders trying to capture the turtle boat would meet this armor, but before they met the armor, they would meet the spikes. We climbed Yudal-san numerous times, and this is a picture of the city from one of the lookouts on Yudal-san. And it was not just scrambling up rocks. For much of the way, it was steps cut into the mountain. Here is a picture of a particularly important rock because it has the face of a man, which was a natural phenomenon and believed to be of significance. This is just one view of Wulchul-san. You can see the various mountains that are in the range. And here are the weary climbers at the top. And our daughter-in-law, she did everything that we introduced her to, including some of the very difficult terrain. We had been there 3 months when they came to visit us, so we hadn't had a great deal of mountain climbing ourselves, but we had a little more than she. And this is on the way down, but there's a young lad, I don't know his name, but he is climbing this higher mountain, and we saw kids as young as 3 scampering up quite steep cliffs, which surprised us. Built up piles of rock seemed to be quite significant to Koreans. In the background, you can see carved poles which represent images of creatures that were, I guess, mythical, but were often carved and shown outside the entrance to towns and villages. The last picture I would like to show you is a picture of the restaurant. You say, what does this have to do with food? Well, it was a restaurant, and it was a restaurant where we had an exceptional experience. As we sat down with our son, who is Australian, and his bride, they were married a few months before they came to visit us in Korea, they were presented with a centerpiece, and it was a bowl of water, and in it were there was something swimming around, and occasionally it would climb up the side. And we thought, that's a strange centerpiece, but as we progressed, we ate the meal, and then our host said, and would you like some octopus? And we said, where is it? And he said, well, it's in the bowl. And live octopus, these were baby octopus, but live octopus were one of the highly esteemed foods in Korea. So we gulped and said, how do you eat them? And our host, who happened to be the CEO of the company, took his chopsticks and expertly grabbed the little octopus and twirled it and then popped it into his mouth. And and we weren't sure whether we really wanted to try them, so we gulped down the octopus. Now, I was a little bit unfortunate because the little sucker stuck to the back of my throat, and I mean, how do you look sophisticated and well put together when you're trying to grapple with an octopus climbing out of your throat? Well, somehow we managed it. But the last time Quat encountered baby octopus was when he was given a farewell dinner in December of 2002. So he had 2 goes at it. I only had 1, and 1 was plenty. Thank you. Cut.
Every month, the whole group went for dinner. I said I couldn't go because my wife is at home by herself. Oh, bring her along. So I brought her along. There are 12 male Korean, me, and 1 woman in that dinner once a month, every month. She's the only elegant diner.